My name is Emicia Parker. I'm a community leader. I'm a teacher. I'm a classically trained fine artist. I'm a published poet. I am a pageant queen who's now a pageant director, and I'm a child of God. I think my purpose on a macro level is just to serve God by serving others. And on a micro level, I think that takes on different forms at different stages of my life. I do believe that I've stepped into it because I spent the last 16 years of my life, which is my entire adult life, giving back to my community in various capacities, from teaching, mentoring, camp counseling, Girl Scout troop leading, just all sorts of things, particularly with the youth. So yeah, I have stepped into my purpose, but I haven't fully actualized what it's going to be yet because we're always growing and evolving. Since it is a National Poetry Month, yes, go poets. I'm going to actually use a poet's quote. One of my favorite poets is Lord Tennyson, classic poet. One of my favorite poems by him is Ulysses, classic poem. And the speaker of Ulysses is actually Odysseus. And he's writing this poem like at the end of his life. And, he's had all of these amazing adventures. So anyway, the quote is, "I am a part of all that I have met, and each experience is an arc, where through gleams that untraveled world whose margin fades forever and forever each time I move." And when I hear that, like, what I see pictorially is that he's saying that every experience that he's had, which this is a man who's had a bunch of adventures, fought in some epic battles. He's saying that every experience that he's had is almost like a frame, right? But we don't go to museums to see a frame. We go to the museum to see the picture in the frame. So he says that his experiences are an arc where through gleams that untraveled world. So it's almost like his experiences are a frame that frame everything that he hasn't experienced. And that's something that helps me in my life because I think so often we qualify our day by the experiences of that day, or we qualify our lives by like the experiences of our lives. Like we'll say, oh, bad things happened to me today, so I've had a bad day. But what about all the other things that you've yet to experience in that day? What about all the things you have yet to experience in your life? So that's a quote that kind of gives me that perspective and keeps me balanced. My whole life has been a trying time. Literally. Turn to your neighbor and say, "Neighbor, trying time." I was placed in foster care when I was 2 months old. I take tremendous pride in being an 80s baby, as most of us 80s babies do. Big up. But unfortunately, the 80s weren't altogether glamorous. One of the terrible things about the 80s, for our communities especially, was the crack epidemic that really devastated us. Unfortunately, both of my biological parents would succumb to addiction. So I would end up in foster care for a while. I would then be adopted by two people who just loved me like I was their own child. And they taught me the value of God. Because they served God with everything they had. They taught me the value of community because they gave back to their community tirelessly. And they also taught me the value of child advocacy. After adopting me, they adopted 4 other kids, kept about 19 foster kids that I could count. And so those 3 values of God, of community, of child advocacy, they really shaped and molded the woman that I am. However, I would encounter another trying time in that both of my parents would die. And although the pain of losing them, I feel like if I knew every language that human beings have ever spoken, I still couldn't put into words the pain of what it feels like. What they left with me, I believe is my purpose to carry on. So although my whole life has been trying, and that now I'm a young woman who's an entrepreneur, I do not have a traditional support system. And in addition to not having a traditional support system, I'm expected to support others because of the work that I do. It's like walking on a tightrope where like there's no safety net underneath you, right? And then there's dozens of people on your shoulders. So yeah, my whole life has been a trying time, but God. 5 to 10 years ago, I wish I would have known not to deprioritize my health. Just really 5 years ago, I was over 400 pounds. I was actually 404 pounds was the highest that I was weighed at. but I was larger than that at the time before when I went to the doctor, but they couldn't weigh me on their scale because their scale only went up to 375. But I know that I was bigger. But I had an undiagnosed autoimmune disease at the time, that coupled with just the stresses of not having a traditional support system, having to take care of myself with my parents being gone, sedentary lifestyle, poor eating habits. You know what we do in the Black community. I ain't got to tell you. But yeah, I have ballooned to over 400 pounds, and losing 170 pounds has just really been something that taught me the value of health, because it doesn't matter what your dreams are. It doesn't matter what your goals are. If you don't have your health, you ain't going nowhere. Where you going? You ain't going nowhere. So I'm definitely grateful that these 5 years have taught me the value of prioritizing my health. I would say the first thing that gets me through the day is prayer, because you cannot navigate your life when it is challenging without having that connection with God, inform what it is that you're doing. So prayer, I've learned as I'm getting older that my prayers don't have to be like really florid, like therefore thou art God. I don't do that. I'm like, okay, God, where's the bus? Because people are waiting for me and you tripping with no map right now. And I mean, I'm not disrespectful with it, but you know, God put me in Brooklyn, so he knew I was gonna act like I was from Brooklyn, just like you know I'm gonna act like I'm from Brooklyn. So that's the first thing, is prayer. The next thing for me is binging on inspiration. I'm a person that will spend like endless amounts of times like on Pinterest, on like, you know, different websites that have things that are visually impacting and appealing. Also, just the things that you guys are doing, my Facebook friends, my social media friends, when I see your accomplishments, that inspires me. And I would say the third thing that really gets me through the day is accomplishing something. I don't know how people sleep at night when they haven't done anything with their day, but I have to do something with my day in order to sleep well. What I would say to this generation is that I love you guys. I love you guys. I think this generation is so promising. You guys get demonized so much. Only the acts of a few sometimes will determine how people look at your entire generation. Like 2 people will have a fight at McDonald's and then people will just throw away your entire generation, like throwing away a baby with the bathwater. But I believe that you guys actually have at your disposal the ability to do things that no one has ever done before you. So I believe in you guys. I think not only do you have the things that we've had in other generations, like a unique configuration of gifts, talents, skills, and abilities that puts you on assignment. Not only do you guys have the wisdom of everyone who's come before you, whether it is through personal interaction and mentorship, whether it's through reading and research, documentaries, but you guys also have something that none of them have. You guys have the internet, which is amazing, because if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, if you're an aspiring anything, you can be an aspiring shoelace maker, literally. You can take a picture of some shoelaces, set up a social media page, and within a week, you could get the type of traffic coming to your shoelaces that someone in another generation would have had to pass out thousands of business cards and go to conventions in different states to get that type of attention that you guys can get like this. So the words of wisdom I would have for you guys is just basically to use that power wisely. Use it to lead. Use it to be entrepreneurs. Use it to change the world. Don't just use it to tape your friends fighting and put it on World Star. Like, you guys, I believe, have the ability to do things that are amazing. I believe in you. I want to see you through it. I salute you. Women's lives matter.